Yeah, make
Okay.
sure the recording. Okay, good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. And I hope this will be a fun session. I was researching it and preparing this, and I've enjoyed it. And I actually learned something new just a day ago, which I actually put into a slide here. And you will see this, and we'll talk about it. Okay. I've tried to keep this in line with what Claudia said over the last 2 days about cultural appropriation and things like that, those themes of identity. So bear with me. I hope it does coincide with what she said. I thought it would be a good way of continuing that line. Okay, so our title here is Youth Activism and Human Rights. Okay, so we are going to get going with this. And does everyone know who these three people are?
Nadie?
No one knows. That's okay.
Yeah, the first one is Greta Thunberg.
Yes, good job, Joshua. Yes, yeah, Greta Thunberg. And where do you know where she's from?
I don't know. Maybe Europe.
Yes,
Is it Canada?
she is from Sweden.
What?
And she has become very very famous. Okay, and the second one here, in the middle one, she still is very famous. But it was only a couple years ago where people learned about her. Her name is Malala Yousafzai. Okay, and she is from Pakistan. Now, how about this one here? Who knows who this young lady is?
Autumn. I can't remember her.
Autumn Peltier?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, you read the article, right? Autumn Peltier. She's a 17-year-old now. She's a 17-year-old young woman, activist for water. So one of the things I started off with this because I wanted you to see the three activists. They're young, okay? They're humanitarians, they're activists, environmentalists, but they attract a different following, right? Look at this, for example. Greta, she has almost 10 million followers on Instagram, okay? And Malala has 1.6 million followers on Instagram. That's quite a bit, right? I don't know how many followers you all have, but this is pretty impressive, right? And then okay, here comes Aliyah, and then we have Autumn here. Okay, and she has 121,000 followers on Instagram, and surprisingly, she has no Twitter or Facebook account. So this is interesting. So the question I have for you is, why does she only have 121,000 followers compared to the other two who have millions of followers? What do you think? Is there a reason for this? Is there a preference? What do you think? I'm going to start calling on someone. Peter, what do you think? I see you thinking. You look reflective.
Sí, no, ella es canadiense y también ella vive en una reservación, ¿no?
Sí, en
Entonces,
Ottawa.
Sí, creo que es esta razón porque ellos no reciben mucha atención del público.
No, claro. And so this is the important fact here too, isn't it? It's interesting. 55% of adults in the U.S. learn their news from social media like Twitter and Facebook, and we all know how true all that information is. Okay, and then I'm welcoming Kevin. I'll be introducing him in a minute. But then let's compare this to someone else. This poor person only has 118 followers on Instagram, 859 followers on Twitter. So what do you think? Sandy, what do you think? Is that a good number for someone to have on Twitter?
No sé, no tengo Twitter.
Oh, okay. Well, just for the record, it's me. So, and as you can see, I think I'm disappointed because I only have 6 followers on YouTube and I've worked so hard and nothing. And so I think basically I'm saying is you don't really need Twitter. It's not really getting me anywhere. But I wanted to just put this perspective, all right? Compared, me to someone ordinary, and then you have those three, even Autumn, they have a large following, all on social media, which I think is really neat, and I think that's very good. Okay, These are two, I'm going to give you two other names. You don't need to memorize them, but just know them a little bit because they are going to become very popular over the next few years. Marie Copeny, for the American student, for the New Hampshire students, you may know her because of the Flint, Michigan water crisis. She's been a very big activist and she's only 13. That's amazing, okay? So the theme here, of course, is youth, young activists. And then since this is recorded, you could go back and read this or even Google her, okay? And then another one from Mexico, Shia Bastida, she's 18, and she's also another activist for water rights. So again, what's also interesting here too, it's not only youth, and I've tried to look for this. I didn't see many male youth. It's all primarily, this is very gendered. I thought it was very interesting. And maybe you can talk about that when you have your in-group discussions. But every one of these, they're all women. And I think that's very interesting to see, okay? All very powerful, and in this particular case, all focusing on education and water rights, which I think is very good, okay? And then, so the question I hope you do explore in your groups is, who in Bolivia would be the equivalent? Who would be the activist in Bolivia, okay? All right. And before I go on, I just wanted to say hello to Kevin. He just joined us, and he will be speaking to us a little bit later on, shortly, about Standing Rock and some of the politics there. Okay, but before we go on, you have these you have the groups here. We divided you, and I think if you all looked at Padlet, you have the website for this, right? Yep. First group: James, Jovan, Aliyah, Gabriela. You're going to watch the Malala interview. Kira, Michaela, Keelan, Lucia, and Paola. In other words, just Keela, Keelan, and Lucia, because I think we're missing two. Whoops. And then Rachel, Rosalina, Peter, Joser, and Sandy, and Leslie will be talking about Autumn and Greta's combined interview. Okay. So I'm going to break you out into your breakout rooms. Okay. And then just let's see if you guys can talk about it. So you have about 10 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm gonna give you about 15 minutes. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes per video. All right, good. All right, so we'll get back to this. All right, so what did you guys think? You tell me. Let's see, who would like to speak about the video that you saw? Tell us what you thought.
Pues hablé con Lucia y Kira y miramos un video de Autumn Peltier y hablamos de la confianza de ella, su comunidad y también su cita en el video que dijo, I stood up to the Prime Minister. No hay muchas personas que harían esto en el mundo, pero pienso que eso habla sobre su activismo y también la confianza que ella tiene.
Y también cuando ella dijo que she told off the Prime Minister, después ella dijo que estaba el momento en su vida en que tiene la más orgullo en su mismo.
En mi grupo, oh, lo siento.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Sandy.
En mi grupo había Rachel y Leslie y nosotras hablábamos sobre cómo fue muy impresionante que estas chicas tan jóvenes fue activistas, y también hablábamos sobre situaciones parecidas en los Estados Unidos, como la tubería de Midwest Pipeline,
yep.
Que fue muy controversial.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Peter.
En mi grupo fue Paula y yo, y hemos visto videos diferentes, pero yo vi el video de Greta y Autumn, y estaban hablando sobre Autumn y cómo ella ayuda con problemas con agua, y Greta estaba hablando como agua es como la sangre de vida del mundo. Y Pablo me dijo más sobre Malala porque no supe mucho sobre ella.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Very good. So, so the question now, I'll put this now to the Bolivian students. Is there a similar figure in Bolivia to Autumn Peltier or to Malala?
We were talking about that in our group, and we think that like a person and a specific person that made us a great impact as Malala, maybe. No, we can't think of someone. We often like get into a big group to do something, but yeah, we don't know like a specific name. And we were talking about this case that happened recently in Bolivia about a girl that that exposed his rapist on Facebook. So everybody like start to expose the person that abused them sexually or in another way. So yeah, like it created a big group of people, and it seems like the person that the girl accused it had a lot of history of that. So yeah, they arrested him yesterday because of how social media interact with everybody. So yeah, I think that would be like a kind of a movement, but it isn't from one girl. It isn't from one person. It's a group of people.
Very good. Very good. No, I think that's very powerful, and it's good to see that, and it's good to see social media used in that way. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the slides, and you can still see this, right?
No, you have to share their screen.
Oh shoot, I did share. That's really odd. Okay, hold on for a minute.
Yeah, make sure your slide it's up first before you share.
Yeah, that's
Usually it's the case. And make sure your slides are up first and then you share. Otherwise, we cannot see your slide.
there you go. Okay. So okay. So as an extension of these activism, right? With human rights. So what are they? Who can name anything that you think would be a human right?
La libertad.
Yeah, la libertad, freedom, great. Who else?
La educación.
La educación, yes. What else?
It's to water and food.
Yes, water and food, right?
Yep.
Religion.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
Religion.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. So, and then, the right to shelter, right? And clothing and things like that. Education, as Malala said, okay? So sometimes, can human rights and social justice exist? That's a very interesting question, right? We don't have to answer this now. I just wanted to plant the seed in your heads. Can you have human rights and social justice? Can they exist? Let's say, for example, you have a dictator and you have these forces, they remove him from power. But the deal is you have to have another, a more violent person in place. And he keeps the peace. Everything is quiet, everything is going well. So is that good? Is it okay to sacrifice human rights for social justice, or social justice for human rights? Can they coexist? Some people say yes, some people say absolutely not. All right, we're not answering that now. I'm just wanted to plant that seed in your head, and then you think about these things, and then maybe one day you can tell me, okay? But one quote I always love is Kenneth Roth, who works for Human Rights Watch, said that for many Americans, human rights abuses happen elsewhere, not in the United States. And as we know in the United States, yes, they do happen. So it's not just elsewhere, okay? All right, now, here we go, this picture. Who can tell me, before we get into this, who can tell me what is the message being conveyed by this cartoon?
Kira,
Que hay privilegio en parecer en una manera de piel blanco y hacer rubio.
Okay, yep, okay. Lucia, go ahead.
You can see that there's what Kira said, the privileges that sometimes white people have over minorities, and they can reach their goals much easier because they have more things on their favor.
Right. Yeah, we see the student there, you know, the white student there. He's ahead of the line. They're all held back by like a ribbon or some barrier, and he has a Segway, so he has several advantages there, and that's the point of this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about some issues of social justice. All right, I'm going to put some terms up here. Okay, we heard white privilege, white fragility. Okay. Microaggressions, and of course this one's going to be incel, and I've put this on here because it's become more prominent over the last few years. Okay, so we're going to go now back into the break rooms. Okay, and I just want you to talk about this for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and just come back and let us know what you what you think, what you feel. All right, and are there anything similar like that in Bolivia? Okay. Is microaggressions, is it something that only happens in the US? Is it like an American invention, or do these things happen in other countries as well? Okay. So these are the groups. All right. It's basically the same, but I'm going to have to do better with the breakout session. So again, bear with me with this, and we're going to get this out. Okay. So let's see. We have, James is not here. We have Jovan. Just trying to make sure I have everyone here. Let's see, Jovan, Aliyah, and Gabriela. Okay, good. Yeah, I think everyone is all set. All right, so I'm going to have you go into these rooms for about 5-7 minutes. Okay, just talk about these things. You can list examples in the United States, but what I want to know is, do we have any examples in Bolivia? Okay, so 7 minutes. Okay, everyone's back, right?
yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's get the show started. So white privilege, who out of those students would like to tell us, what did you discuss? What was a consensus? Okay, Aliyah.
En nuestro grupo dijimos que el privilegio blanco es algo que significa como las ventajas que tienen las personas blancas, como por ejemplo más acceso a la educación, o tal vez tienen más dinero en su familia con de las generaciones pasadas, y esos son algunos ejemplos. Pero algo muy interesante de que hablamos es les pregunté a Gabriela y Joan si usan este término en Bolivia, y Gabriela me dijo que es más común decir simplemente white privilege en vez de decir privilegio blanco.
Oh, sí. Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
Depende. Sí, sí, sí.
Very good. All right, thanks, Aliyah. Okay, so next one, white fragility. Who would like to talk?
¿Puedo hablar?
Okay, Kira.
Estamos hablando de es cuando sentir incómodo en conversaciones de la raza y justicia social, en la tema de hablar de minoridades y los derechos y las diferencias en derechos entre la gente blanca y la gente de un grupo minoridad.
Very good.
Es conectado, es muy cerca a white privilege.
Okay.
Es el sentido de sentir incómodo con el white privilege.
So that would be like sensibilidad, right? Sensitivity, right? Hypersensitivity. Okay, this is This will be an interesting one now. Microaggressions. Who would like to tell us?
Sí,
Peter.
puedo empezar con un ejemplo que microaggressions es cuando se hacen cosas pequeñas que son como inapropiadas un poquito de un nivel, especialmente cuando está interactuando con una persona que es de otra raza. Por ejemplo, solo puedo pensar de un ejemplo de amigos que tengo que son personas negras y hay personas blancas que piden ellos por drogas porque piensan que son como drug dealers, pero no son. Y es un ejemplo de algo pequeño que es agresivo y es inapropiado.
Very good.
Muy bien.
Very good. Okay, and then incel. Who would like to tell us what is incel?
Sorry, me?
Yeah, sure. Leslie.
We are not sure it was email, but we searched on Google. I think that is when you can't marry someone of the different religion. I don't know. I don't sure.
That's okay. Anyone want to add to that? Okay, because what Leslie's correct. The word celibate means someone who does not marry because of religion, maybe, or personal beliefs, right? Incel comes from that meaning. An incel is basically a man who's angry at women because they refuse to have sex with him. All right, I'm sure you've heard this because this is starting to happen now on college campuses. Men are upset, not because of their own short failings. Maybe they don't have a good personality, or maybe they're just not very nice to women. But what they're doing now is they're blaming women. Hey, that woman does not want to have sex with me. She's denying me. She's making me celibate because she does not want to have sex with me, right? So it's a gendered issue here, where they are projecting the problems onto another person who has nothing to do with it, right? It's the man's fault, the male's fault, but he's blaming the women, saying, "Hey, I'm an incel. I'm celibate against my will," right? It's involuntarily celibate is where that comes from. Incel. He's saying I'm celibate because the women don't want to have sex with me, right? So that it's some hostility that comes from this, and we're seeing it on some campuses, and we're seeing it now with older men, unfortunately. Okay, now we're gonna get to we're gonna move on to the next part here. Okay. I don't know if anyone watched the Kamala Harris Mike Pence debate. I'll just put this. All right, there you guys. Okay, if anyone watched it, we all know about the fly that landed on his head, but that's not what we're going to talk about. There are two things I picked up afterwards, okay, made by comments of friends of mine on Facebook. They said she was so disrespectful. All right. I didn't like how she smiled. For me personally, I didn't interpret it that way. I interpreted her as being very intelligent, engaged with the material, very smart, and confident. Okay. But now some people were saying, "Oh, she's so disrespectful." Mike Pence was disrespectful. If you watch the debate, he was always interrupting her, right? Yet she was the one being labeled as being disrespectful. That is a double standard. It's misogyny and it's racist for me. Okay. That is what happens. That's part of this microaggression and white fragility. That's where it's come from. All these stupid things that they say, which have a lot more. They're charged. They have a lot more material underneath. Okay. And now I'm going to introduce you to a term I just learned yesterday. Who knows what this means? I'm going to move this over here. Okay. Peter, do you know this? Aaliyah? Leslie? No?
Creo que tengo una idea.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Esas fotos aquí son like memes and GIFs, y creo que ese término tiene que ver con cuando una persona que no es negra los usa y es como, like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I think that's what it is.
Bingo, you just nailed it. Thanks. I'm just gonna move this over here. I can't get this to go vertical, but just so for everyone, black facing basically means a white person who covers their skin in like dark makeup, shoe polish, whatever, to look black. That's where it's black facing comes from. It comes from the early 19th century. So now they're saying digital black facing, as Aaliyah just said, is when people send a meme or a GIF. You know, you want to leave a comment on Facebook or Instagram, and they use a meme like this with a white, maybe a black person. I've seen this one on the top one. I've seen many times people have posted that, and they're not black. So for me, I was completely unaware of it until I read this yesterday. So this is now an interesting phenomenon, digital black facing. So just be aware of it, and just whenever you see another meme or another GIF, just look at it. Is there any point to this? Are they right? Okay. All right, now we are going to talk a little bit about Standing Rock. Just give me another minute, and then we're going to have our my friend Kevin Locke will speak to us a little bit about this. Okay. Who here, I want you all to raise your hands, has heard of Standing Rock? Okay. Anyone else? So only 2 people have heard of Standing Rock. Okay. All right, 3. Okay. All right. No, Rachel. All right. Good. All right. Good. Well, we're going to learn a little bit more about it. All right. But before we do that, I wanted to touch on a couple of things. All right. We're going to go. We could go through a whole history of how the United States has not really treated Native American Indians very well. But what I'm going to do is just talk to you about something that's called the Dawes Act. DAWES, Dawes Act of 1877, where basically the U.S. government said, hey, we have the right, we're going to take the land from the people who were here before us and divide it up amongst ourselves, basically. Okay, so it's called the Dawes Act 1877, and that's basically really started, well, not say started, continued, or actually pushed, accelerated the trend to really disenfranchising, marginalizing the Native American Indians. Okay, and then it led to the system of reservations and things like that. And this, again, led itself to Standing Rock, and Kevin's going to speak to you about a little bit about that. Okay, the thing that's truly ironic and horrible about this law is it said, okay, yes, we're going to take this from the Native American Indians, and any Indian who accepts our terms, we will give them U.S. citizenship. Okay, and for those who don't, well, too bad, you're going to be considered foreigners on your own land, is basically what happened. So that is, for me, is a very pivotal moment in the history of relations between the U.S. government and Native American Indians, the Dawes Act. Okay, now if you want, I can write that in the chat room. All right, but I wanted to at least set the table, put that context there, and then hand the discussion over to Kevin to talk a little bit about this. Okay, Kevin. Oops.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's really good to be with you here. It's good to participate in your class, and thank you, Tom, for inviting me. And yeah, I'm from Standing Rock, from one of the communities. It's called Wakpala, and I understand that looks like 2 of you have heard about when there's a lot of media attention on Standing Rock. This was about a little over 4 years ago. And the background behind that is that there was a corporate conglomerate that is called Energy Transfer. Anyway, they were attempting to build a pipeline to transport crude oil from these oil fields in the state of North Dakota down to a location in southern Illinois. And so then and they had to cross several rivers. So one of them, the one that we're concerned with, is the Missouri River. And so then initially it was supposed to cross over north of the city of Bismarck, which is the capital of North Dakota. But then a lot of people in Bismarck, they have a lot of wealth, a lot of political influence. So they blocked that initial plan of crossing the river north of Bismarck, and they decided to put the pipeline crossing just at the Standing Rock Reservation border, the north border. And so then there were hearings done with the tribe, and the tribe pointed out all the archaeological disruption and and emphasized to the company that they would not permit that crossing there on the Standing Rock Reservation border, but that company decided to do it anyway. So then it seemed as if all the legal recourse was exhausted. And so then in my community, in Wakpala, a group of young people, about 80 young people at the school, decided to bring attention to this. And so they organized several actions. And one of them was it was actually about this time of year in 2016, so that was about 5 years ago, was a prayer run from like it's a devotional practice or devotional activity, a prayer run. So that was from Wakpala, it's a native community or indigenous community where I live, across the river over to the adjacent community, which is largely non-native or basically all German people, German immigrant population there. And so then, I was involved in that too, as a 12-mile run, and I did it all the way. Anyway, it was mostly young people. And so this was very significant because there were then a series of actions that resulted in this incredible turnout of people in support of protecting the Missouri River. But then it became like a touchstone, or the whole movement became a symbolic action that kind of put a lot of interests together, such as climate change, environmental degradation, indigenous rights, treaty rights, so many things, so many issues were all came to like a union or conjunction there in this it was I guess like a standoff, and they call it a protest, but then the people involved like to call it a water protection issue. And you can see that this is going on all over the world, and we see that all over the world it's the indigenous populations that have much of the biological diversity within their homelands. And I know that Bolivia is very much like this, because I've been to Bolivia several times, and it's basically an indigenous country. If you get much outside of La Paz and other places, I know that we've traveled to many villages, and now this has been some years ago, but when we went traveling, a lot of the villages we went to, the Spanish language was not well known. And so we had to have a translator that would go from whatever regional variation of Quechua or Aymara into Spanish, and then of course Spanish into English. So it was very interesting, but the bottom line is that especially in South America, we can see that the indigenous people are the ones who are taking a stand now, very heroic stand, in acknowledgement of their ancestral role as being the stewards or custodians of these God-given resources. So it's like a trust which is passed down intergenerationally. And so this is primarily what happened at Standing Rock, because the youth became awakened to this ancestral role. It's a divine birthright to give voice to all of creation, that we have this sacred relationship with all of creation. And that so it was the youth who decided to activate that role, of that stewardship role. And so this played out at this action at Standing Rock, and eventually that movement, so many people were attracted to it and came in support, that it became the third largest habitation in the state of North Dakota. So that's how many people, thousands, like tens of thousands of people came there. And so it was quite an international sensation, And the pipeline was blocked by the President Obama, but he was just going out of office. And so then I think one of the first things that Trump did when he took office was to give the green light, or the go ahead, to complete that pipeline and cross the Missouri River. So then now, since then, it has been ruled to have been illegal. There's been court actions that have now ruled that that was an illegal action, and have stopped the flow of petroleum through that pipeline. So that's a little background. Was there anything else that I could add to that, Tom?
Well, I think what we're going to do now, Kevin, I have a quick video. We're going to put them in groups. They're going to watch the video, and then they're going to come back, and I want to see if they have any questions for you.
Question. Kevin, do you speak Spanish?
No hablo mucho y no entiendo nada.
Okay, I can.
I can understand. I understand what she was saying. Yeah.
Okay, I'll say my piece in English. I was just curious about that. But what sticks with me from that video is when the lady was saying what sticks with her is like the cries and the sounds that were coming from the situation. I think that was really strong. And I also think that the video really humanized the situation.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Yes.
Anyone else?
It's something too that I feel like when it was in the height of the moment and like the news coverage and stuff that was going on about it, it didn't like make it seem as big as a situation as it actually is, and how many people it actually affects. I thought, and we were kind of talking about, like, from what I remember from the news coverage, like they didn't show any of what that video just showed.
Right.
It was a completely different intention in the media coverage that was happening.
Paola, I think you.
Ayula.
Paola, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask him something.
Okay.
How do you think that people could withstand the treatment of the police? Because I saw in the video that the police attacked to the people.
Yeah, it was really a such a horrific show of force, really bad show of force on the part of the all of the militia, and it was primarily under the direction of the governor of the state of North Dakota. So he called out the National Guard, and all these police forces came from all over. So it was, and it was all to support what's been now determined an illegal action. So yeah, the people there was so-called, but you know, the media, when they framed a lot of the reporting in the national media. I noticed they always call the people protesters, whereas the term that the people preferred is just water protectors, because, you know, as we all know, the waters are part of the sacred trust of all people, especially indigenous people recognize that sacred trust. So they were just trying to stand up for that and to uphold that ancient covenant, you could call covenant, that we have with the water.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Do you know if anyone did call the governor and what was the result of that?
No, he was the main one that was, it called out all the militia and the National Guard at the time, the governor of North Dakota. Yeah.
I thought that's what you said. So
Yeah.
why do you think the person was telling the person who called to call the governor if he was the one who had sent the militia?
The person that was talking, you know, was the dispatcher, the radio dispatcher from the Morton County Police Department. Which is that's a county in the state of North Dakota, and so it's based in Mandan, North Dakota. So that's who was talking, the dispatcher there. Yeah. So it was just a funny conversation. It was tragic, but then he said, just go to the governor. But it was the governor that rallied all that militia to suppress the water protectors.
Anyone else? Okay, let's see if okay, I'm just gonna oops, go back a little bit here. Okay. Well, Kevin, I wanna thank you.
Sure.
Very much for joining us and for answering these questions. Thank you for your time. And I just want to mention that on behalf of the University of New Hampshire students and the students from Universidad Privada Boliviana, Abroadia has donated $100 to the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Tower Gardens. Could you at least mention to everyone a little bit about what that program is?
Yeah, well, you know what we're doing is we're getting these the schools which have 100% tribal enrollment. All the students are tribal members. They we're facilitating these year-round gardens. They're called tower gardens, but they're really productive all year round. And of course, it's indoors, and it's really it's used to facilitate like science, technology, math, language arts, all of these things in the curriculum. So this is one of the things that we're doing, and the kids really love it. If you go to this website, it's if you look on the bottom, the Patricia Locke Foundation, then you can read more about it. You can read what the kids say about it. So it's really been a wonderful program, and we really appreciate the support of Abroadia to this initiative for the kids.
No, it's a pleasure.
Okay.
And again, thank you for your time. And for everyone else, I will send you that link to the Patricia Locke Foundation so you can learn a little bit more if you'd like. Okay.
Very good.
Kevin, thank you again so much.
Okay.
And everyone, we'll see you next week. And I hope you had looked at the video that Lena posted on Padlet, because I think that's going to be a fun assignment for you to do, is to translate these idioms from Spanish to English, English to Spanish. So let's see what you can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Okay. Again, don't forget your last 2 assignments. You know, we saw a few of you already post your podcast, but we still have a couple groups kind of missing. So make sure you do that. And your last assignment is to interview each other, pick up a topic, do an interview, but we want you to do a video interview, right? So it's kind of different from your podcast. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward, to seeing those assignments come up. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Lena, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, how long do you want the videos to be? Like, what's the minimum you're looking?
I don't know. I didn't put the time there, so it's all really up to you. Obviously, if you do like a 2 or 3 minutes, obviously there's not much of content, right? So I would say at least a 5 to 6 minutes kind of video would make it if it's a group, if it's only 2 people. But if you have a more than 2, obviously, you want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak, right? So that takes a little bit longer, kind of time. So yeah.
Aaliyah, or I can say, we did ours. We were in a group of 4.
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes long, and I had a lot of trouble trying to upload the video because it said the file was too big.
Yeah, you
So
need
just
to
be aware of that too.
Yeah, sometimes you need to use some kind of program to compress it, so your file doesn't become very huge to upload it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there is a program called WeTransfer. Do you know that, Kira? You could use WeTransfer for large files.
Oh, okay, good to know. I think I ended up just uploading it to Google Drive and then sharing the Google Drive link.
That's
yeah,
fine.
I view all the video uploaded already. They'll work.
Okay,
so
good.
I think it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, just one quick note is you're invited to join me. I'm interviewing Mariela Salaveri and Gonzalo Villarreal, 2 Bolivians, theater actors and directors. They're wonderful. They are going to talk to us about their Maracaracol Teatro. And if you like theater, if you like Bolivian theater, that's great. Paola and all the other Bolivian students, you're invited. We'd love to have you there. And the UNH students, we'd love to have you there. Okay. If you're interested, let me know and I can send you the link.
Yeah, if you can send me the link, I can post that in the palette too. If they
Okay, no problem. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Kevin, thank you again.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Bye.
Next week, right? Next Friday for our last meeting, right? Okay.
Yeah, next week, next Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Bye.